Great weather, wine country, sun, sand, and, well, a lot of happy gay men up in the woods. Of course, I'm talking about the annual Lazy Bear Weekend, and here to give us the details is Jack Sugrue, the Vice President of San Francisco Bears.
Yes. Great to be back, David. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is what year for all you guys?
This is the 19th year for Lazy Bear, and it's one of our most exciting. And as we do every year, we have some of our old events, some of our old favorites, such as pool parties at the R3 and the Woods and the West Sonoma Inn. We'll be doing our annual golf tournament this year again. We have dances every night, but we've added a few new twists as well.
So this is the 19th year for Lazy Bear Weekend. Mm-hmm. For those people who, well, 19 years, there are probably some people going this year that, you know, weren't around when you had the first one. Some really
Sadly,
young cubs, I guess.
That is very true.
What is the history of Lazy Bear Weekend and its connection to the Russian River and specifically Guerneville?
Well, the Lazy Bear Weekend started one afternoon, one very lazy afternoon, on the deck of the R3.
Yeah, the hotel formerly known as the Triple R.
As the Triple R. But Harry Litt, who was our founder, was up there one weekend with a couple of friends and came up with the idea of doing a little bit of fundraising while they were there. So I thought, what if we were to do a dance? And then that became, what if we did a dance and a pool party? And over the course of the years, it has turned from an afternoon of just kind of relaxing to a 6-day event that people travel to from all over the world. We have people coming from Germany and Australia and Ireland and England. So it's extraordinary, the fact that we get this type of reach around the world, and, you know, from our own backyard.
You know, my husband and I have had a home in Guerneville for 14 years now, and I remember going there when I first came to San Francisco in the mid-'80s, and someone called it the gayest little town in California. You've got the Rainbow Cattle Company, you've got all these gay-owned businesses. My understanding is that Guerneville has 30% of its businesses LGBT-owned. It really is the gayest little town in California.
It really is. And what's extraordinary is they're so welcoming to our group when they come up. I mean, Guerneville's changing like everything else in California. You know, there are businesses coming in, there's new blood, but it remains so open and so friendly. It's just marvelous to be able to, you know, go into the town with, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 of our closest friends and kind of take over, and yet have everybody be so warm and welcoming.
Yeah, it seems like every major American city has kind of a gay retreat. I mean, Washington, D.C. has Rehoboth, and of course Boston has P-Town.
Philadelphia has New Hope.
Exactly. How did Guerneville become San Francisco's, you know, gay way to vacations?
That's a great question, and I wish I knew the answer to it. I will tell you that, you know, it was always kind of an opportunity to get away from the city a little bit. At 69 miles away from the city, it was just far enough.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that it was a San Francisco businessman who decided to open a small B&B up there, and it grew from there. This is back in the 60s, I believe.
Right. I heard a story, and it may be apocryphal, but I'll throw it out there. Yeah. Maybe someone will tweet me or, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, that Fred McMurray, the Hollywood actor, of course, known for My Three Sons, had property up there, and this was during the 60s and the 70s, the hippie movement and whatnot, and gay men would go up there and just hang out on the beach, and he didn't care. He was straight, but, you know, let 1,000 flowers bloom, and that was the beginning of kind of Guerneville becoming a gay hippie enclave, and it's gone through a lot of changes. I mean, I remember 5, 6 years ago, the recession really hit Guerneville hard. A lot of empty storefronts, and businesses went under, but at the moment, it seems to be going through kind of a resurgence.
Absolutely. If you go down Main Street right now, there are very few empty businesses. There are new businesses popping up all the time, and there's a tremendous amount of growth outside of Guerneville as well. So we're thrilled to be able to take advantage of that and bring something new to all of our bears who are going up.
Well, you lead me to my next really, you know, hard news question.
These are tough.
These are tough. I know. What comprises a bear?
What is a bear?
What is a bear?
Philosophically, what is a bear?
Yeah.
You know, you ask 100 people, you'll get 100 different answers. But a bear, basically, it tends to be a bigger guy with a little bit of hair, you know, either, you know, here or there or anywhere.
Here, a little hair, Here, there, or anywhere. I think
Right.
you just came up with the International Bear tagline.
There we go. I'm going to go with that. But we tend to be, slightly bigger, very open, very accepting. We kind of grew out of the idea that there is no right way to look in the gay community. There was a time when everything was about being very thin and being, waif-like and, Kate Mossy. And the Bears kind of grew out of a rebellion from that, to be ourselves, to be big and hairy and healthy and, jovial and just, be ourselves.
I mean, it can kind of be human.
To be human, exactly.
I think sometimes when I walk past, and I'm probably going to get in trouble here if someone likes Victoria's Secret, which I know all of our straight guys who work in the studio do. Why wouldn't they? There were women who said, a Victoria's Secret model is an impossible level of physicality to achieve unless you are a model. And for a long time, you're right, in the gay male community, unless you were white and blonde and buff,
and hairless.
And hairless, you weren't considered attractive. So really, philosophically, the bear movement is more than just about partying.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's about being accepting of yourself, being accepting of other people, kind of looking outside of your own social group, and doing good work. I mean, the Bears were really born. I've talked before about the fact that there is fundraising in our DNA, because the Bears kind of grew out of the AIDS crisis when we realized that we were not going to be getting the government help we had hoped for. We had to do it ourselves. So organizations like the Bears of San Francisco and Lazy Bear kind of grew out of that and became fundraising entities in its own way.
Now, you're originally from upstate Pennsylvania, correct?
I am.
Two questions. When did you realize you were gay and come out? And the second question is, when did you realize you were and come out as a bear? And which was more difficult?
Gosh, that's a really tough question. I first knew I was gay. This is a funny story. I was a paper boy. I was probably about 11 years old, and I went to the home of the high school quarterback who answered the door just in a pair of jockey shorts. And I was like, oh, I'm gay. Question answer.
Yeah, this sounds like the blurb to one of those cheap paperback novels I used to see when I was a teenager.
The coming of age story, the tender coming of age stories. And so that was 1970 something.
Yeah.
And kept it quiet for a while. But came out to my family in the early 80s, and they were amazing. I always wanted to have this wonderful after-school special moment where they all kind of threw me out of the house, and I had to fight my way back in. They were great. They were remarkable for an Irish Catholic family in rural Pennsylvania. They were incredibly accepting. Came out as a bear really when I came to San Francisco. Philadelphia didn't have much of a bear scene. There were bears there, of course, but not really organized. Came out here and met up with Harry Litt, who is the founder of Lazy Bear and one of my oldest and dearest friends. And he kind of said, well, we're doing this event in Guerneville. Why don't you become a part of it? And went up there, realized what it was all about, felt warm and loved and embraced and accepted. And I thought, yeah, okay, I can do this. It's much easier than dealing with Billy Halko in his underwear.
Yeah, well, we'll get back to that story. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the connection with the bear community and fundraising for AIDS, HIV, because we really are talking about something that came out of the thing that really defined so much of the gay community 30 years ago and still does to a large degree.
Absolutely. The Bears of San Francisco, which I'm vice president of that organization as well, what I do in my spare time when I'm not working on Lazy Bear, that really came out of a need for health care in the Bay Area. It was during the 80s we found that we were getting less and less help from the government, and we decided that we needed to do something about that. We created an event called International Bear Rendezvous, which ended up raising literally hundreds and thousands of dollars for health and health organizations around the Bay Area. Same thing with Lazy Bear. Harry had suffered one of the earliest losses with HIV and AIDS when his brother passed away in the very early 80s. So it touched him very, very deeply. So he knew that when he was going to do some sort of fundraising, it was going to go to HIV prevention and care. And from that, we've raised over $1.5 million for organizations throughout the Bay Area. And we go beyond just HIV at this point. We're doing things for health organizations, for education. We're doing it for things like the AIDS Emergency Fund. We work with the Breast Cancer Emergency Fund.
Well, I was going to say the pain and the stigma of the early AIDS epidemic have really served as a template for some organizations, gay and non-gay. I know, for instance, you mentioned one, the AIDS Emergency Fund branched out to become also the breast cancer
Right,
emergency
exactly.
fund. How have the lessons learned by the bear community, which includes rebranding yourself as something people used to say, well, they're hairy and a little bigger, and you know they don't look like what's his name from that movie with Brooke Shields.
Christopher Aiken.
Yeah, Christopher Aiken. We all don't look like that. How did your rebranding in that way, but also your brand as an organization that helps people, help non-gay causes?
Well, I think it allowed us, we allowed other organizations to kind of look beyond their own borders. You know, suddenly when we began to reach out to other organizations, PAWS is a really good example of that, which
Pets
are wonderful support
for people living with AIDS.
which is how it started, and that has actually grown into something a little more inclusive. Anybody who is having health problems now can reach out to them and get you know, food and walks and you know, care for their animals while they go through some health crises. It allowed the Bears branching out beyond HIV and AIDS allowed other organizations to expand their parameters.
Right.
So we're very fortunate in that regard.
In our last few moments, talk to me about the weekend. What do you like about it? I mean, as an organizer, I mean, people don't seem to understand that planning a party is actually a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
What goes into it, and what's your favorite part of it?
My favorite part of it is actually as we ramp up to the event itself, when the crew, because the group of us who put this together are really far-flung. Harry and Alan, who are the founders, recently moved to Florida. Our event coordinator is in Seattle. Our designer is in Palm Springs. So it's the first time we all kind of get a chance to be together, talk about our goals, go out to the venues, see our friends that we've made over the last 19 years, talk to them, find out what they want to do, and really get the party started.
So it's going to be a hairy, merry weekend in Guerneville, California this summer.
Absolutely.
What are the dates again?
It is July 29th through August 3rd.
Well, I can't bear the wait.
You're waiting to do that.
I've been waiting the whole show to do that. Thanks. We've been speaking to Jack Sugrue about Lazy Bear Weekend in Guerneville. I'll certainly be there. Next up, we're going to learn about the power of beautiful music. Someone who sings and directs the lesbian and gay chorus of San Francisco. I'll be right back.